June 11th, 2020, regular meeting for the Troy Downtown Development Authority to order. And with that, Glenn, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, be happy to. Chair Alan Kurlick.
Here.
Vice Chair Tim Blair.
Present.
Mayor Ethan Baker.
Here.
Dennis Bostic.
Here.
Larry Kiesling.
Here.
Marty Nolenberg.
Here.
Kenny Koza. I do not hear him. Dan McLeish.
Here.
Brian Majeski.
Here.
Ward Randall.
Here.
Ernie Reschke.
Here.
Doug Schroeder. I do not hear Doug. We do have a quorum.
Left call. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, he dropped.
So Doug was on the line and dropped, or?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he just doesn't want to talk to us.
Glenn, it looks like Mr. Kurlick had some
Explaining. Yeah.
Alan, can you hear us? Can you say something? Well, I guess not.
We may need to tell him to re-sign in. So Glenn, I don't know if you have his contact information, and then in the meantime, Mr. Blair, I see that you're on the phone, and the next item would be the resolutions to conduct the electronic meeting, and I am happy to read those for you, and then somebody could move them if you're prepared to have me do that.
Please do. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, was that me that dropped off?
Oh, you're back on, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. All right. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I was just prepared to read the resolution for the electronic meeting. Is that okay if I go ahead and do that?
Yeah. Please. Right.
Okay. Resolved that the Troy Downtown Development Authority hereby allows all members to participate in public meetings by electronic means during the state of emergency. Members participating electronically will be considered present and in attendance at the meeting and may participate in the meeting if physically present. However, members must avoid using email, texting, instant messaging, and other such electronic forms of communication to make a decision or deliberation towards a decision. Resolved that the Troy Downtown Development Authority hereby establishes public participation rules during the state of emergency to provide for two methods by which members of the public can be heard by others during the meetings. Email sent to economic.development@troymi.gov and received by 4 p.m. on the day preceding the meeting will be read during the public comment period portion of the meeting. Voicemails left at 248-524-3314 and received by 4 p.m. on the day preceding the meeting will be played during the public comment period of the meeting. Both email and voicemail public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any comments regarding this resolution? Or if not, I'd entertain a motion, and then Glenn will have to do a roll call. Right?
So moved. Dan McLeish.
Okay.
Second, Tim Blair.
Second, Ward Randall.
Thank you. Okay. Glenn, please.
Yes. Chair Alan Kurlick.
Here. Yes, approve.
Tim Blair.
Approved.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Dennis Bostic.
Yes.
Larry Kiesling.
Yes.
Martin Nolenberg.
Yes.
Kenny Koza, Dan McLeish,
Here. Yes.
Brian Majeski,
Yes.
Ward Randall,
Yes.
Ernie Reschke,
Yes.
Doug Schroeder. Not on. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. By the way, I may have missed it when I seemed to drop off or something, but just for everybody's information, anything that requires an action this morning does have to have a specific roll call, and Glenn will be doing roll calls. Isn't that right, Lori?
Yes,
So,
that
you
is
know, and
what-
that,
Yeah, that's a condition of allowing an electronic meeting. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
so we're going to have that with the approval of the minutes, and each one is separate. Then we have one for the budget approval, and we have one for the Somerset Collection parking deck resolution. So that'll be coming along. So I want to inform everybody. Also, when it comes to the Somerset, Tim is going to he's going to abstain, and we do have to have a resolution that approves his abstaining from the vote on Somerset. Correct, Lori? So,
Yes, Mr. Chair, yes.
okay. So with that, let's go on to the approval of the minutes. Do we have any issues or corrections with the minutes? Well, can I entertain a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Dan McLeish. Second. Ward Randall.
Okay, thank you. No, any further discussion? Then can we have a roll, please, for this vote? Glenn?
Chair Alan Curlick,
Yes?
Tim Blair,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Dennis Bostic,
Yes.
Larry Kiesling,
Yes.
Marty Nolenberg,
Yes.
Kenny Koza, Dan McLeish,
Yes.
Brian Majeski,
Yes.
Ward Randall,
Yes.
Ernie Reschke,
Yes.
Doug Schroeder. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business, and we do have some new business to address. And the first one is 6A, which is the approval of the 2021 budget. So put this on the floor for any questions, discussion. If that's the case, can I have a motion to approve? Anybody care to make a motion?
Dennis Bostic. Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Tim Blair, second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, can we have, Glenn, can you do the roll call for the approval?
Yes. Chair Alan Curlick,
Yes?
Tim Blair,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Dennis Bostic,
Yes.
Larry Kiesling,
Yes.
Marty Nolenberg,
Yes.
Kenny Koza, Dan McLeish,
Yes.
Brian Majeski,
Yes.
Ward Randall,
Yes.
Ernie Reschke,
Yes.
Doug Schroeder. Motion passes.
Everyone, it's Tim Blair here. I know the next item on the agenda is the Somerset Collection North Parking Deck. As Alan had stated earlier, I have a conflict of interest on this, and I will recuse myself from any of this discussion. I'm going to put the phone on just muting myself out until the next agenda item, and any vote on this, I will either be an abstention or a recusal. I don't know how it works legally, so I am going to set the phone down on speaker.
Okay, thanks, Tim. From ID. 6B. Is everybody hearing me okay? So with that, we do need a motion from somebody that accepts his abstaining from 6B, Somerset Collection. Anybody care to make? Marty, thank you for. Okay, Dennis, you want to second that?
Yes. Second.
Yeah. Okay. Further discussion? Those in favor, Glenn, can you run that for us, the roll, please?
Chair Alan Furlick,
Yes.
Tim Blair has recused himself. Mayor Baker,
Yes.
yes. Dennis Bostic,
Yes.
Larry Kiesling,
Yes.
Artie Nolenberg,
Yes.
Kenny Kosa, Dan McLeish.
I had a question. I could not hear the motion. It was muffled.
A motion for a recusal of Mr. Blair because of a conflict of interest.
Okay. Here, yes.
Brian Matuszewski,
Yes.
Ward Randall,
Yes.
Bernie Reschke,
Yes.
Doug Schroeder. Motion passes.
Are we there? I'm sorry.
Motion
That's
passes,
me.
yes.
It's showing full power on the internet. Sorry. So do we have a approval resolution for Tim's abstaining, right? So Mark, would you present the Somerset Collection agreement?
Yes, and I'll have Ms. Bloom help out eventually. So this is a termination of ground lease and purchase of Somerset North parking structure. There was a complex deal that the city executed, I should say the DDA and the city, in 1995, which provided for $6.95 million in taxable bonds and $10.1 million of tax exempt bonds. And as I stated, it was a complex deal with Frankel Forbes Cohen. And this will allow for the payment of approximately over $4 million, which is in our budget that was just approved. And the resolution would authorize me as the executive director of the DDA to execute any legal forms, and these are pretty much standard forms for the transfer of property, such as quitclaim deed, bill of sale, termination of the ground lease, termination of the assignment and assumption of agreement, and escrow agreement. And further, the resolution affirms the developer's payment of the agreed upon purchase price for the parking structure and for the earliest possible closing date, and approval of all the documents. And Ms. Bloom, I don't know if you have anything else you would like to add to that. You probably were working for the city when this happened, or pretty close to your start date.
So I just wanted to add that this is pursuant to the ground lease, and there's really not a lot of discretion. It is an option that they can exercise, and obviously they are exercising that. The amount of the payment was set forth as a formula, and there is agreement on that. I would also indicate that we've received most of the documents. Most of them are just terminations of the various agreements, and then the documents that would be critical for a closing for a real estate deal. So I don't think that we're going to have any objectionable forms or anything here, or any documents, and we're just asking for the authority to proceed and to enter into this closing. I would also just indicate that the money will just be deposited in the DDA account. There are some restrictions that would be on that money. And so the DDA board will at a later time be apprised of those and have an opportunity to discuss different options that there might be for that money.
Okay, Marty, go ahead. Marty.
Yeah, so Lori, I appreciate you bringing that up. And maybe I should have brought it up sooner, but I thought wasn't sure when the right time to bring it up was. So I noticed in the budget, the $4 million repayment is made, and then it looks like the fund balance, continues to increase, up through 2023. And I go to the next page of the budget, it looks like our net, continues to increase. So are we restricted by a percentage? I mean, does some of that have to, do we spend it? Do we, we reduce the capture? What are the obligations that we have with the excess monies that, seem to be accruing, unless I'm missing something? But as I understand the budget, it looks like, our net is increasing, and obviously the repayment is being dumped in as well.
So, Mr. Chair, there are some obligations and some limitations within the plans itself, which are the governing documents. There are also some other restrictions, and we'd like an opportunity to put forth all of those restrictions at an in-person meeting. We're hoping to not have that discussion occur in an electronic meeting, and we want to get the money in hand first and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, it's obviously very important how we utilize the funds. And it seems like a great suggestion for us to wait until we can hopefully get together soon. Are there any other questions?
I'm just curious, who put the restrictions on? Is it part of the purchase agreement with Somerset? And they put restrictions on, or we have restrictions on ourselves, or what?
No, it is, the restrictions do not derive from Somerset. The restrictions are inherent in the DDA governing documents and the bond issues.
Okay.
And
one other question I have is that it sounds like there's additional payments coming, or is that the total payment on
No,
that?
that's the total. The $4,335,171.
Okay. Thank you.
Lori, the original amount was about 17 million, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, between taxable and non-taxable, yes.
And they've been paying that down. Is that correct, or am I not?
Tax increment financing has been utilized.
Okay.
So there is a proposed resolution in paperwork and with the agenda. And if we don't have any other questions, entertain a motion to adopt as proposed, authorizing the executive director to execute legal documents.
And, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to read that resolution for you if you'd like.
Please.
Resolved that the executive director or his designee is hereby authorized to execute all required documents to effectuate a transfer of the Somerset North parking structure to developer upon payment of the purchase price after the documents have been vetted and approved by legal counsel on behalf of the Troy Downtown Development Authority. These documents include, but are not limited to, a quitclaim deed, a bill of sale, termination of the ground lease, termination of the assignment and assumption agreement, and escrow agreement. Be it further resolved that the Troy Downtown Development Authority hereby affirms the developer's payment of the agreed upon purchase price for the parking structure at the earliest possible closing date after mutual approval of all necessary legal documents will not be construed as a default of the ground lease, even though this will occur after June 7th of 2020.
I'm happy to move.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Who moved it and who seconded it?
Dan, please second.
Marty Nolan.
Marty Nolenberg's initial motion. Moved the motion. So therefore, no further discussion. Glenn, would you give us a roll call, please, for this approval of this action?
Isn't this action to be until an in-person meeting?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Isn't this action to be tabled until an in-person meeting?
No, this resolution gives the executive director the authority to sign the documents necessary to terminate the lease and other related documents, and for the DDA to receive the money. And the money will be deposited in the DDA's account. It will not be utilized. This does not author any use of the $4 million. It just authorizes execution agreements, get the money in our bank account, and then when we have our next meeting, and hopefully it'll be face-to-face, we can then have a good understanding of what restrictions we have.
Okay.
Looks like
Looks like we've lost the chair.
There he is.
Are you there, Roy?
Back?
Yes.
Cool. You're back.
You're back.
Shoot. Did you hear what I said? I responded to the answer. If not, maybe Lori should respond.
I thought you did a nice job, Mr. Chair, and I think we could hear all of it.
Okay, great. So with that, then we're ready for the roll call, right, Glenn?
Yep. Chair Alan Curley.
Yes.
Tim Blair has recused himself. Mayor Ethan Baker.
Yes.
Dennis Bostic.
Yes.
Larry Kiesling.
Yes.
Marty Nolenberg.
Yes.
Kenny Koza. Dan McLeish.
Yes.
Brian Majeski.
Yes.
Ward Randall.
Yes.
Ernie Reschke.
Yes.
This Lori?
Doug Schroeder. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item under new business 6C, the planning and development update. Brent and Glenn are going to give us an update. Would you gentlemen proceed?
Yeah, I can start. This is Brent. I don't know if anyone noticed, I lost power at my house and I disappeared for a few minutes. So I'm using my cell phone now. Technology is incredible. If you drive up and down Big Beaver in terms of activity, a couple of things I think jump out at you. You'll notice at the 888 property behind the parking deck, Zen Apartments is underway. I think they're working on the third floor of the apartment complex that's attached to the parking deck. And you'll also notice across the street, basically from Marty's restaurant, Cooper's Hawk. The timing, I think, was pretty poor in terms of Cooper's Hawk because they got all their permits finalized out and they're ready to go. And then we had the executive order, so I think they're kind of itching to open up. But they're pretty well done in terms of the improvements that they've had to make to that site to be ready to open up. Glenn, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, construction does continue, for instance, on the Home 2 hotel over on the Wilshire. So that's continuing on. I mean, construction is continuing on, albeit at a probably a little slower pace than we normally would have had. But eventually these projects, most of them will get done.
Yeah,
So,
I should have mentioned Zen Apartments is kind of an interesting project because it's residential in the DDA. So we're going to have a residential element in the DDA and more people living in the DDA, which is a big deal. It helps in terms of more activity along the corridor, more people living there, spending money, walking around, creating more of a sense of place. So it's very exciting, and we look to have more apartments and condos in the DDA in the near future.
Glenn and Brent, this is Mark. Lori, you can help chime in if you would like, but once we get residents in the DDA, the state DDA law is going to require us to have residential member on the DDA representation. But when we'll address that once people actually start moving in.
I have a quick question. And I appreciate the update, and just maybe somebody could provide me with an update on the interchange at Big Beaver and I-75. Obviously, it's narrowed down to one lane, and it's kind of tricky to navigate. Any sense of when that kind of opens up?
This is Mark Miller. I'll coordinate with our city engineer who has the connections with MDOT, and I'll get something out to all the DDA.
Thank you.
And currently, what you're seeing, Marty, is that the construction is beginning on the Divergent Diamond intersection between Big Beaver and I-75. That will go on through the fall. The latest that I've heard, and Mark can verify that with Bill, but the project's supposed to be completed by the end of November at this point. And construction has been rolling along at a very good pace due to the lack of traffic in the last few months. So they've been able to get a lot of construction going, which has been good for that project.
Back historically, we the DDA put a lot of effort into developing some designs for this Big Beaver I-75 interchange. And to my recollection, those design concepts were, they weren't concepts, they were actually drawings. And that material was, if I understand, was submitted to MDOT. Have they responded by including any of that material or landscape design into what's going to happen here now?
Chair, this is Mark Miller. Yes, during the early design development phases, Bill Hootery, our city engineer, gave all of those documents for the aesthetic improvements of the intersection, which were proposed in about 2008. And they were used in the overall development of the design scheme. The one thing that we should note that this construction project does not include any landscaping to this point. That's going to be a separate contract out in the future. So from a schematic idea point, yes, MDOT knows about it, but then when we get the actual landscape design will be created and then let out in a different project. And in this process, working with MDOT, we can have elective improvements if we so want, and we could pay for it. I know Kurt Bobenseep, our Public Works Director. Kurt, do you know offhand any extras that we paid for during the road construction?
Some betterments up at Coolidge and Square Lake for turn lanes and pathways, and then just some minor betterments for infrastructure for water main stuff at this point. But as you said, Mark, since landscaping isn't part of this current contract, we expect to have continued communication with MDOT in regard to landscaping.
So I have a suggestion, and for those of you that weren't on the board at the time we developed these plans, I would appreciate it if we could, if the board agrees, get the staff to bring to us those design concepts and present it to us. And let's see how all of you feel about this, and anything that you particularly like that we can give some guidance to the staff. And there was, aside from planting and the design concept, there was one thing that that was almost iconic. In fact, it was meant to be, and I personally was very excited about it. And there's when it was designed, we tried to create kind of frankly, an icon that became an identity so that people would know the Big Beaver I-75 interchange, and that you would have visibility from a long distance. And so what was proposed is a stainless steel 60-foot needle within the interchange that was lit in an upward fashion so that it would radiate. So when you were a long ways away, a mile or so, you would see this icon. And so my feeling is that if everybody agrees, let's have this presented to everybody, and let's see if there's an interest in advocating for any of this. If there is, for example, if you like the needle and you want to go down that path, we're going to need Attorney Blum to make sure that we get an easement, a pad within the interchange to mount the structure. So there's a lot there, and if everybody's interested, maybe we'll see how everybody feels about it. And then if that's okay, we'll submit it next meeting. How do you feel? Everybody, okay. I don't know whether you heard me or not, but I don't hear any objection. I see a thumbs up from Mark. So can we do that, Lori? Or Mark, can we please submit it at our next agenda? Great.
And Mr. Chair, just the easement would not, we would wait until the board has an opportunity to discuss the option, right? And then later on, there would be authority to go forward with any easements.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. There's no motion here. It's just an advisory presentation next meeting.
Chairman,
So
yes. Chairman, we definitely can give the DDA the previous designs for the improvements in the intersection. That's no problem.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you. Brent, Glenn, thanks a lot. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go on to 6D, the DDA marketing strategy. Glenn, I understand you're going to present this to us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. You have in your agenda packets a memo that kind of outlines what we've been doing on the marketing that the DDA board has discussed in the past. As you recall, the DDA budgeted $25,000 for this purpose to look at a marketing strategy for the DDA. The DDA also looked at kind of like a short-term approach and a long-term approach. Short-term dealing with, the I-75 construction, how to help draw additional attention to the businesses. And that's kind of the road that we've gone down in terms of kind of the immediacy in the short term. Of course, a lot of that has changed now because of the pandemic. But the memo gives you an overview of what has been accomplished. And, a lot of this has been done basically through partnerships with the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and working also with board member Kenny Koza, who made some suggestions as to folks that we can talk to and companies that we can talk to look at some ideas for marketing. So a lot has been accomplished in terms of kind of in-kind services, nothing that's been expended out of the budget at this stage. So various marketing, open for business kind of items have gone out there. Partnerships with Troy Restaurant Week, to help promote the restaurants, media and TV coverage of the restaurants in the DDA as well has happened. And, basically working with the Troy Chamber on their communications, their, videos to help promote the businesses as well. So all that through various partnerships has taken place, a lot of that up to March of this year. And then we started talking at Kenny Koza's suggestion, talking to SMC, which is a Troy marketing firm, to get some ideas from them in terms of a kind of approach on marketing for our businesses. And we met with them back in March, got some good ideas. And then the pandemic hit, everything shut down, kind of changed, the focus of marketing, because originally the focus was, well, we had this I-75 construction. How do we draw more attention to our businesses? Well, now we got them all shut down. So we kind of had to take a different step, a different approach on this. And in talking with SMZ, they came up with some very interesting ideas for kind of a dual prong approach, for both construction and for coming out of the pandemic. We decided, for this meeting, it probably wouldn't be appropriate to have a full-blown PowerPoint presentation from SMZ to go through some of their ideas. We can do that at the next meeting. But just to let you know that we have been meeting with them and some excellent ideas in terms of various strategies to help promote the restaurants, to help promote the businesses in the DDA, particularly coming out of the pandemic, and as we're heading towards the end of the year, when we hope that the construction will also be done with I-75. So kind of a reopening effect here in the DDA as we come out of all this. So wanted to make sure that the board was up to date, with this memo, and get your input in terms of next steps. And we can be happy to at the next meeting to bring SMZ to share some ideas. we can go from there. That's one approach, and any other ideas would be welcome from the board.
Anybody care to comment? Let me ask you this: Have in terms of these new ideas, is cable one of the medias you're considering? Local cable?
You mean as in like cable TV?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the discussion is more electronic media in general, which probably encompasses some of that as well.
Yeah.
And also direct marketing, direct focusing with the offices in the DDA to help them patronize the restaurants.
Right. Well, I mean, I mean, my view is, is that there should be some kind of promotion certainly about being open in all these various venues, but it's kind of a lifestyle thing. Like, it's kind of a place to go. It's to shop and eat, and have lunch, have dinner with your wife or whatever. See what I mean? So that we kind of create a connectivity of a lifestyle. It encompasses the retail and the restaurant lifestyle. So those are just a couple of thoughts of mine. Ethan, you had some comments?
Yeah, the next meeting's not for 4 months from now. Is it not wise to have a presentation on how we should be marketing out of the pandemic until 4 months from now? I mean, I know we're limited by what we can do, but is it going to be relevant? I mean, we'll be reopening for a long time, but I mean, if we do a presentation in 4 months on how we're reopening after the pandemic, is that smart? You know what I'm saying? It just seems to me like by then it's going to be a different message, hopefully, than it is today or in the next month. And if we're looking at something in October, it looks like by the time we make any decisions, it'll be into 2021 and it'll be a whole different message again. So I'm just wondering if there's any thought to that and how that can be maybe worked around, if at all. Just a thought I'm having.
Chair, it's Mark Miller.
Yeah.
I want to ask Mr. Lapin, do we have any actions that the DDA needs to act on related to this? And if there are, we could schedule a special meeting sooner if we need to address something immediately.
There are no actions at this point other than, the next step potentially having SMZ discuss some of their ideas in terms of marketing and get some input on that, and then potentially moving forward on pieces of that, since it's kind of an all-encompassing menu that they provided.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea if it's okay legally that we have a special meeting, and maybe we'll put that landscape concept in the same agenda. So we got a couple of good agenda items that get attention. Maybe if you decide if you want to put the parameters of how we deal with the money, assuming the money will be received by them. Yeah. Is everybody interested? We don't have to make a long, complicated meeting, but it should be one maybe with in presence, right? That we're all present. That would be ideal.
Chair, yeah, this is Mark Miller. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And we also may want to get an update from MDOT if we do that too.
Perfect.
On the road construction. And I can coordinate with the chair to coordinate a special meeting. I would really like to get out of this virtual meeting before we do it, to be honest. And then we got to figure out, once we go to real meetings, how do we social distance in public? That'll be a little bit of a challenge, but not to go into great detail, Kurt Bovenstein, our Public Works Director, is actually working on that subject to ensure that we have social distancing when our boards and commissions meet.
Well,
I think that's a great idea. I mean, the marketing is, it's changing daily. And until people get back into the offices and start working, it's going to be difficult to know exactly what we need to do. But I think if we do the marketing thing up front earlier, I support that. I think having a conversation with MDOT would also be especially helpful. And then to Alan's point, in the landscape design plan into that might be appropriate as well. So I don't know if I'm a first or a second, but I'm happy to move that bullet points forward.
All right, I don't think we need a motion on that, but there's general consensus I interpret here, right? So what do we do, as Mark suggested, we'll try to get something organized for a special meeting, and we'll kind of schedule it around the COVID larger meeting allowable, the allowable larger meetings. So that's okay with everybody. We'll proceed on that basis. Any other discussions of Glenn on the marketing? Okay. All right. One thing about public comment, the executive order provides for various avenues for input on public comment. One is watching the meeting on the city's YouTube channel. The other thing is an email sent to the Economic Development at Troy before 4 p.m. yesterday. And the other one was a voicemail, but before 4 p.m. yesterday. Those were the avenues. Now, based on that, do we have any public comment to present?
I have not received anything that I've seen.
Okay. All right. With that, close public comment, and we'll move to adjourn today's meeting. Motion, please, and second.
So moved, Dan McLean.
Okay.
Second, Marty Thornburg.
Thank you. Okay, those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, even for this one, you need a roll call vote. Sorry.
All right, then.
Chair Alan Kerlick,
Yes.
Tim Blair,
Yes.
Ethan Baker,
Yes.
Dennis Bostic,
Yes.
Larry Kiesling,
Yes.
Marty Nolenberg,
Yes.
Dan McLeish,
Yes.
Brian Majewski,
Yes.
Ward Randall,
Yes.
Ray
Yes.
Reschke. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Remind everybody that our next meeting is October 21st at 7:30 a.m. And we're going to work on getting a special meeting together. If there's no other comments, we'll adjourn today. Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.